Under a torrential downpour on a rural Arkansas highway, Colonel Maya Jackson, a decorated military hero, found herself pressed against the hood of her SUV, unjustly handcuffed by a police officer whose authority reeked of prejudice. What began as an outrageous act of racial profiling transformed into a historic moment. Maya, armed with a strategic calm forged on battlefields and in Pentagon corridors, made a call that unleashed an unprecedented military and federal response. This is the story of how a woman, facing injustice, used her intelligence, dignity, and a system she helped design to alter the course of history. Prepare for a tale that will not only outrage you, but also inspire you to believe in the power of strategic resistance. The morning sun cast long shadows across the desolate road as 42-year-old Colonel Maya Jackson crossed the Arkansas state line in her Lincoln Navigator. With 20 years of impeccable military service, Maya was the epitome of excellence. From the dusty battlefields of Afghanistan to the polished halls of the Pentagon, she had overcome obstacles few could imagine, especially as an African-American woman in a system that often seemed designed to hold her back. Her new posting as commander of a specialized tactical unit at Fort Chaffee was the culmination of decades of sacrifice and determination. At 7:15 a.m., hunger led her to stop at a small roadside diner, Maggie's Country Kitchen, in Pine Bluff. Dressed in a navy blue blazer and jeans, her military bearing was unmistakable, though her civilian clothes made her appear to be just another traveler. As she entered, the chime above the door announced her arrival, and the murmur of conversations momentarily hushed. The glances from other patrons wavered between curiosity and thinly veiled hostility. Maya took a seat in a booth by the window, placing her military-issued laptop bag beside her. But nearly 10 minutes passed before a waitress, Betty, approached with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "What'll it be, honey?" she asked, her tone more condescending than friendly. Maya ordered the breakfast special and coffee, using the warm yet professional tone she had perfected in war zones. As Betty walked away, Maya overheard a whispered comment from a nearby table. "They're coming to our town now." The accompanying snickers reminded her of her childhood in Chicago's South Side, where her father, a Vietnam veteran, taught her to maintain dignity in the face of adversity. "They'll try to make you feel small," he'd say, "but you stand tall and let your excellence speak for itself." That lesson had guided her through West Point, where she graduated fourth in her class despite advice to pursue a less demanding career. It sustained her through 2 tours in Afghanistan, where she earned a Bronze Star for valor under enemy fire, and carried her through the intricate political games of the Pentagon. While she ate, her phone vibrated with a message from her 17-year-old daughter, Amara, who lived with her aunt in Virginia. "My Princeton interview is scheduled." Maya smiled proudly, replying with words of encouragement. She finished her meal quickly, leaving a generous tip despite the cold service. Another lesson from her father: never give them a reason to justify their treatment. Back in her Navigator, she decided to take a scenic route through the Arkansas countryside to familiarize herself with a region that would be her home for the next 3 years. The landscapes of pine-covered hills were beautiful, but their tranquility was shattered when a patrol car appeared in her rearview mirror, following her at a constant distance for miles. Maya checked her speed, exactly at the limit, and fastened her seatbelt, habits ingrained from a life aware that traffic stops could have different consequences for African-American drivers. For 10 minutes, the patrol car followed her without passing or falling back, generating a growing unease. When the blue lights finally flashed, Maya activated her turn signal and pulled over carefully, placing both hands visibly on the steering wheel. She hadn't broken any laws, and her documents were in order, but something about the prolonged tailing suggested this was no routine stop. Officer Blake Mercer approached with an arrogant swagger, his hand near his weapon in an unnecessarily aggressive stance. "License, registration, and insurance," he demanded, his tone sharp and lacking the professional courtesy Maya expected. "May I ask why I've been stopped?" "Officer," she responded calmly, maintaining eye contact as she slowly reached for her documents. "I asked the questions here." Mercer retorted, transforming the formal address into a veiled insult. You were driving erratically. Maya knew it was a lie. Her military discipline extended to her driving. Nevertheless, she nodded and handed over her license, registration, and military ID, aware that contradicting him would only escalate the situation. Mercer examined the documents with exaggerated skepticism, raising his eyebrows when he saw her rank. "Colonel, that's pretty high for someone your age," he sneered, insinuating her credentials might be fake. "Yes, sir. 20 years of service, 2 combat deployments," Maya replied, mentally noting his name and badge number. Blake Mercer, for 872 AS. He circled her vehicle. He commented disdainfully, "That's an expensive car for a military salary." His tone suggested more than curiosity. It was an implicit accusation. When he mentioned reports of drug traffickers in vehicles like hers, Maya felt the familiar weight of racial prejudice, but she maintained a neutral expression. When a second patrol car arrived, Officer Harris, Mercer ordered Maya out of the vehicle without explanation. "Am I refusing to comply?" she asked, firm but respectful. Mercer's response was to forcefully open her door and order, "Out now. Hands where I can see them." Maya obeyed with military precision, calmly stating that she carried a service weapon according to military regulations. Instead of following protocol, Mercer drew his weapon, shouting, "Freeze!" in a dangerous and unjustified escalation. Harris tried to calm him, but Mercer ignored him, handcuffing Maya with excessive force. As the rain intensified, Mercer pushed her against the hood, his knee in her back, while he searched her vehicle, tossing her uniforms and medals onto the muddy ground. A small crowd gathered across the street, recording with their phones. Maya, maintaining her composure, discreetly activated the emergency recording function on her military watch, transmitting every moment to a secure Pentagon server. Then she asked to make a call, a right Mercer denied until Harris intervened. With the phone on speaker, Maya said, "Call General Richardson." The authoritative voice of General Marcus Richardson, the highest-ranking African-American officer on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, answered. Maya used a precise code. "Colonel Maya Jackson, service number 875-42103, implementing safeguard protocol, coordinates transmitted, Cherokee status compromised, requesting Eagle oversight." In less than 15 seconds, the call ended, but it triggered a high-level protection protocol for military officers facing abuse. Mercer had no idea he'd just set off a national security alert. At the Pentagon, General Richardson mobilized instantly. He called the governor of Arkansas, the FBI, and military police at Fort Chaffee. Satellites were repositioned to monitor Pine Bluff. Police Chief Gloria Rollins was informed by the Pentagon that Maya's arrest now fell under a civil rights emergency with national implications. Moments later, Black Hawk helicopters roared overhead as a federal convoy sped toward the scene. Mercer tried to assert control. "This is my jurisdiction," even as orders from Chief Rollins crackled over the radio demanding Maya's release. When Mercer threatened Maya again, Harris intervened. As Mercer reached for a secondary weapon, Harris tackled him, preventing bloodshed. Military police surrounded the area, arrested Mercer for assaulting a federal officer, and secured the scene. Media and bystanders captured at all points. 6 months later, Maya, now promoted to brigadier general, testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Her story inspired the Colonel Jackson Military Protection Act, new safeguards for service members facing police discrimination. Pine Bluff's police department fell under federal oversight, and a reform-driven chief took over a year later. Maya returned to Maggie's country kitchen. Community unity signs lined the walls. A young Air Force officer thanked her. "Your resistance changed everything." As Maya drove past the road where it began, she reflected, not just on the call that reached the Pentagon, but the one that echoed across a nation. Her quiet strength became a movement, proving that dignity, strategy, and courage can challenge broken systems.